Hi everyone, it's Julia here. I am going to talk you through the pre-release material for the October-November exam. The exam dates are actually out. The exam is going to be on the 21st, the paper 1 is going to be on the 21st of October, paper 2 is going to be on the 23rd of October, that's the UK only. But do double check that with your exam centre. Okay, so the pre-release for the UK is out. It doesn't matter whether or not you are going to be doing the A to E scoring or the 9 to 1 scoring. This is marked as the 9 to 1 scoring. The exam is exactly the same. It doesn't matter which one you do, you will have the exact same exam paper and the exact same pre-release. So let's have a look at the pre-release. You might have seen it. If not, obviously I'm going to attach it to a document for you to, the email, sorry, that I'm going to send to you. So in this pre-release, it says in preparation for the exam, you've got to do this practical test. And remember that pre-release, you've got to write the code and then you will get asked questions on the code that you did for this solution in the exam on the second paper. So you should be familiar with all this by now, and you should see from all the past sort of practices that we've done what's involved. But this time, this is your real one. So it says a company supplies concrete slabs for paving. The slabs are made to order in batches of 20. All slabs in a batch are identical. Customers can order from a small range of standard sizes and colours. All measurements are given in millimetres. The price is calculated at 0.05 cents for a volume of 100,000 millimetres cubed of grey concrete. Red and green concrete are charged at 10% more, and customers can choose their own colours. A custom colour has an initial setup cost of $5 and then 15% more than the price of grey. So basically what happens is they're buying in a whole load of grey concrete and that's not made up yet, and they're going to make these slabs from the concrete that isn't made up yet. And depending on what colour you have, they're going to charge more or less, and there's an initial cost. So we can see there in the table we've got the different colours available, the depth of the slab and the shapes. And the shapes are square, rectangular or round, and there's two sizes. So, you know, someone might come in and say, okay, I want to buy an order of 20 slabs at a depth of 38 millimetres, and I want them square, and they're going to be 600 by 600, for example. So, you know, and then the company will make up those paving slabs for them. So they're made to order. So it says write and test a program or programs for the slab company. Your programs must include appropriate prompts and validate data on entry. Error messages should be set out clearly. All variables and constants and other identifiers must have meaningful names, and that always goes without saying. Now, as usual, just like normal, there's 3 tasks for this. So the first task is actually probably the most complicated. The second task is a little bit more work, but not much. And then task 3 is really, really easy. So task 1 is the most complicated. Okay, so let's have a look at what we have to do for task 1. So as normal for task 1, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be allowing the user to enter what the customer wants to order. So basically, as I went through before, we're going to let them enter what they want, the colour, the depth of the slab, the shape of the slab, and the size for each one. And then once we've let them do that, we're going to calculate the cost of 20 slabs, and the details of the chosen slab and the price for 20 should be displayed on the screen. So it sounds quite easy, but actually is a little bit more complicated, because we have got to kind of work out, we've got to do a lot of if statements in this. So we've got to let the user enter the data, and then we've got to let the user we've got to work out, what we're going to do with the price depending on what they've selected. So there's going to be a fair amount of if statements in this. There's no reason to have a loop here because we're not repeating anything. We're just doing this once. We're letting them enter it, and so if statements are the main thing here. So basically our main algorithm is going to be this. It's going to be input the colour, input the depth, input the shape, And then depending on the shape that they pick, obviously we're going to input the size. And then we're going to calculate the cost. Okay, so that's a really simple breakdown of what needs to be done. But it is complicated in the fact that we need to do if statements depending on, depending on what size they have, it depends on what shape, because obviously if they pick a round slab, then you're not going to be wanting to sort of say, oh, select 600 by 600. We need to work out what the diameter is. So let's have a look at. So here is my code for this. I haven't actually, the only thing I haven't done actually with this is sort out the round shaped ones. I just need to put in the circumference and a calculation for that. But basically what you've got to do, you've got to store that basic information about what can be selected, and you're going to need arrays for that. So the available colours are grey, red, green or a custom colour. The available depths are 38 and 45. The available shapes are square, rectangle or round. And then if we've got a square, then we've got 600 by 600 or 450 by 450. The available rectangles 600 by 700, 600 by 450, and then the available round is 300 by 450. And you'll see here as well that the depths are actually stored as a data type of an int, and everything else is stored in quotes as text. So that will make a difference when we're using our if statement. Now, if we just scroll past this, you'll see here what I've got is basically I'm letting the user select the available colours. So you could just print out the array which is holding the colours. That would be perfectly acceptable. It doesn't look very nice. I've got a for loop to do that. You don't have to do the for loop here. But whatever happens, we need to let them input the colour, and you need to tell them what the colours are. So that's up to you how you do that. And then you need to do the same with the depth. You need to tell them what the depths are, somehow either printing the array out as a whole or this for loop as well, and then let them select which one they want and store that in a variable. And the same for the shape. So we're storing the shape, and then we're going to store also, ignore the quality because that's that's task 3, so just ignore that one for now. So if they pick a square, for example, then we're going to let them select either 600 by 600 or 450 by 450. And what we do is we work out the volume of the order, so i.e. how much concrete is going to make up one slab. If they're going to select a 600 by 600, and we can do that by this calculation, it's 600 by 600 times the depth that they picked, which is 38 or 42 I think, and then times it by 20 because that will be 20 slabs, and that will be the volume of the whole order. So we just think in terms of, cubes. If they pick a rectangle, it's exactly the same, except this time the rectangle size is 600 by 700 or 600 by 450, and our calculation is going to be dependent on that as well. And then finally we can work out the cost per unit, and we work out the cost per unit depending on that 100,000. So we've got the volume of the order divided by 100,000 times the cost of the grey concrete, and the grey concrete is, if I've got up here, it's 5 pence per millimetre cubed, I think, something like that, or cents, sorry, cents. I might say pounds or pence when I actually mean dollars and cents, it's just habit. So you can see here I've got lots of different variables that I've created, and obviously we need to, it's a good idea to sort of declare them all at the same place. And these ones here, you'll see like the grey cost, that's directly from the question sheet here, where it says that up here somewhere, yeah, there we are. The price is calculated at 5 pence or 5 cents for a volume of 100,000 millimetres cubed. So just remember to keep looking at the question sheet because all the information you need is there. So once we've now got the volume of the order, we can then, obviously I haven't done the round bit there, I need to slot that in. I didn't have internet access, I couldn't remember when I did this, and I couldn't remember how to do the calculations for a circle. Anyway, so we always have to calculate. So basically what happens is when we're calculating these what we're doing is we are looking at calculating the cost of the grey concrete and then adding on if they've picked a colour. So if they've picked grey, it's just the standard cost, that's it, there's no change. But if they've picked red or green, then we need to add on an extra percentage. And that's obviously in the question sheet as well. And if they pick a custom colour, then there is a difference with that as well. And the calculation is slightly different too. Okay, and all these here, that's a constant, all declared up here. There you go, that's that extra percentage. So we're just kind of figuring out with our if statements what they've selected. Do we need to add anything onto the basic cost? If we do, if they picked a different colour, they picked different size, then we can adjust it to that. And then we're just going to print everything else out, because the end of task 1 is once we've got that cost, we need to print it out. So I'm just going to print it out here. And I've got, a bit of an if statement to say if it's square, if it's rectangle, if it's round. You might have a different way to do this. Remember, this is my code. You don't have to do exactly what I've done. It's absolutely fine to deviate from if you find a better way to do it. In fact, quite often my students do find a better way to do it. So don't worry about that. But this is, my way of doing it. Okay, so now we've got everything in the order. We are going to, we've got the basic costs. If we have a look at task 2, task 2 basically says, using the information from task 1, that if the customer places an order for the number of slabs they require, orders of fewer than 20 slabs or more than 100 are not accepted. So there's some validation going on there, and I'm pretty sure they're going to ask you about that, how you did that in the exam. So basically what you're doing is you're saying, how many, to the user, how many are you going to select? Sorry, how many do you want in your order? And then if it's less than 20, you're going to increase it to 20. If it's 39, you would increase it to 40. If it's 52, then you would increase it to 60. So it's got to be in 20s. And you've got to reject anything that is 100, above 100 basically. Orders that are not in a multiple of 20 are rounded up to the next multiple of 20 and display the order price and the number of slabs to be produced. So basically in task 1 we've got that basic cost for how much it's going to cost for 20 slabs. If they order 40 slabs, then it's going to be twice the price of 20 slabs. If they order 60 slabs, it's going to be 3 times the cost of, etc. up to 100. So if we look at the code, basically what we do is once we've got that basic cost, we say, do you want to place an order? Yes or no. If they put a yes, then we're going to say, how many do you want to order? And we use that as an input. And if the order is less than 20 or greater than 100, we're going to reject it. And then if the order is not, so the way that I've done it is I've checked to see if it's in a multiple of 20. I've said if the order amount is in 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, then that's fine. If it's not in that, basically we're going to increase it up to the nearest one. I should probably actually, thinking about this, I might change this actually while I'm here. I'm going to say if the order amount is greater than 100, orders must be less than 101 basically. And then if the order amount is not in 20, 40, 60, 80 or 100, then we're going to round it. So actually what I need to do is I just need to amend this. So I've just discovered an error. See, this is the other way. I'm going to change this to be order amount, and then order amount is less than 20, then we're going to create our order amount to be equal to 20. There we go. I'm happy with that now. Okay, so basically if the order that amount they want to order is less than 20, then we're going to increase it to 20. So if they order for 18, they have to have 20. If it was 15, they have to have 20. Okay, so that's task 2. We can actually, yeah, that's all we have to do. It's quite simple actually, task 2. There's not much else to do. We just need to display it on the screen. oh no, that's, yeah, display the order price and the number of slabs to be produced. So you can add that in, just a print statement. And then the last task, it says the cost of concrete is variable. The cost for 100,000 cubed millimeters of grey concrete can be input as 2 grades. So basically you can have the normal concrete, or you can have best concrete, which is the slightly better quality. And it's basically, if it's the better quality, which they call best, then it's 7% more cost, basically. And then it says use a copy of your program for task 1 to develop task 3 to input the cost and grade of the concrete before calculating the price. So all we're doing is we're going back to task 1 and we're adding an extra input to say, actually, here you can have, as well as the colour, the depth and the shape and the size, you can also pick the grade of concrete that you're going to have. And if you pick the best one, it's 7% more cost on top of whatever you've done. So if we have a look at the code, we saw it briefly earlier, where I said ignore that bit. Don't ignore it now. Here we go. So after, this is task 1 at the top here. After we've got task 1, we're inputting the colour, the depth, the shape, and then we're entering the quality at the end here. And we're basically saying, what do you want? Do you want from our quality array, is it going to be basic or is it best? And if they select best, then all we do is we just work out that extra 7%, and that 7% is this number here, and we're just adding it on, and the plus equals just adds it on to that there. And then that's it. The rest of the code can just run through again. You know, it's a nice little task, actually. It's not too complicated. A lot of the previous pre-releases, they've had a lot of repetitive code. This is a nice little one. And as we get nearer to the date of the exam, I will be producing all sorts of questions that they might ask you about this, so that you can be fully aware of the sorts of things that they might ask you. Okay, so I hope that's helped. Do drop me an email if you get stuck. Don't suffer in silence. I am here to help. I am going to be on holiday between the 3rd and the 7th of September, just for 5 days. But if you need any help between that time, I won't be able to help you then, but I can help you when I get back. If you get stuck with anything, just drop me an email. I'm absolutely fine to help you. Okay, let's just have a think about how you can revise for this. So basically, we've got, how many weeks now? So yeah, we've got about 8 or 9 weeks. So in those 8 weeks, what you need to be doing is going over the whole of the course. If you've got a revision book, do use your revision book, and use that to sort of, you know, go over and try and learn the facts that you're going to need for the theory exam, etc. Do have a look at the revision pack. Remember that if you go back to your class resources, there's a revision pack in the class resources on Electa. If you log on there, you'll be able to see those, print them out. It's things like all the different terminology that you need. There's also a revision schedule. The revision schedule is basically just 6 weeks before the exam. So in a couple of weeks, you could start looking at that revision schedule. And it basically involves doing lots of past papers. I mean, you know, really the best way to revise is to do as many past papers as possible. And actually, all of the past papers are on Electa. The past papers, including the ones that are in this summer. So you can have a look at those and try all of those. Definitely do as many as you can. You'll see how, and look at the mark scheme. It's really important that you mark your work and think, hang on, have I answered in the way that they are expecting me to answer? And you should be able to work that out. So really do make sure you do all of the past papers. Start with the most recent and go backwards. They have changed the style a little bit of the past papers, so you'll notice that like the 2015 and 2016 papers are a bit different in style, but that's okay. I mean, you know, it's all good practice anyway, but just be aware that obviously they have changed a little bit. I will be arranging some revision lessons starting on the week of the 16th of September, so that will have our first revision lesson then. I'm not quite sure when we'll do it, but it'll probably be a Thursday, but I'll contact all your parents to make sure that you can all make the time and date, so basically you know, we can get that time, you can ask me questions on it, and obviously I'll make sure that your pre-releases are correct as well. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. I am here, I am available to help you if you do need help with anything. Drop me an email. It's just that I won't be available between the 3rd and the 7th of September. And we're taking advantage of the cheap holidays, because it's all the schools have gone back and all the prices for the holidays just drop. So I will be away for 5 days then. Okay, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.